Hello everyone, B.O.B. here, and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial. Now today we are building an ice farm, hence our snowy surroundings. See, the first thing you're going to need if you want to build an ice farm is a cold location like this one. So, ice spikes, frozen taiga, even a snowy mountaintop. Any place where you find snow on the ground, you can build an ice farm. The next thing you're going to need if you want to even consider building an ice farm, Silk Touch. A good Silk Touch pickaxe. You probably want at least efficiency 3 on it so you can insta-mine that ice, harvest it all up real quick. But Silk Touch is absolutely necessary for harvesting ice. Now for ice to form, we just need a water source block with no lighting sources nearby, and that needs to have sky access. That means nothing above it. So building an ice farm can be done as simply as this. You just have a diagonal line of waterlogged slabs across the middle of a tray, and so whenever we harvest this all up here, as you can see, it's refilling the water as I collect it all, and now that water can start to freeze over. And since the water source blocks need sky access to freeze over, something with slabs or blocks just hanging overhead would kind of have the same effect. You could just have that diagonal line across the middle of a tray and harvest it all up, and once you do, the water sources left in the middle will automatically refill the tray for you. Now those designs are cheap and easy to build, but if you want something that's going to produce a lot of ice, well, you're either going to need to build a lot of those things or build something like what's beneath me here. Now, this ice farm was inspired by Xisumavoid's ice farm in Hermitcraft Season 6 and Etho's Lab's ice farm in Hermitcraft Season 7. And the whole idea is the ice forms in one location, some pistons push it to the side, and then it kind of collects underneath another group of pistons, and then that pushes it down to the ground where you can kind of harvest it below. And the whole idea is it stockpiles that ice for you, so you don't have to build a million of these things. Although I'll admit, building it to this scale, it can get a little bit laggy. So building something with just like some smaller modules like this might be a better idea. But I went for as much as the pistons would allow. So yeah, I pushed it a little bit. You see, there's quite a few transparent blocks down here, so whenever it gets to the end of this piston array here, and all of those pistons up top all fire at once, and that's quite a few pistons up there, well, it's moving even more transparent blocks down here, and that causes quite a bit of lag. And if I'm honest, it might be a better idea to build these things maybe even half this size or smaller, and then just build several of them so you're not moving so many blocks at one time. But like I said, I went for the max the pistons would allow, so let's do the tutorial on this, and I'll teach you how to downsize it if you wish. Now, the materials for this project are in this chest. You're going to need 2 1/4 stacks of pistons. And of course, if you choose to downsize the farm, you aren't going to need all of that. And the same applies for a lot of these materials. But you will need 14 observers, 7 repeaters, 3 stacks of redstone dust, 2 stair blocks of your choice, at least 2 stacks of building blocks of your choice. You're going to want an infinite water source. We're going to do some water logging in this farm, so at least 2 buckets of water, and then 12 ice just to kind of prime the thing. And this really doesn't have to be ice. We're just using these 12 blocks to hold in our water sources. You could put any blocks you want in there, but they're just going to get pushed out along with your harvestable ice. Now for this model we're building today, you're going to need at least a 17 by 17 space, which I have outlined in smoothstone here, and typically these torches would not be a good idea to have around an ice farm. I only did that because, well, snow kept forming on my outline here, and I wanted you to be able to see all the blocks. But in all actuality, the ice is going to be forming 12 blocks up, so wherever you choose to build your ice farm, you want to map out your location, you're going to count 12 blocks up from there to start building. Okay, to start off here, I want to come to the corner of our build area. I want to come 4 blocks away from that, and then 2 blocks towards the center here. So about right there, I'm gonna stack my 12 blocks off of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I want to build an observer, or set, excuse me, place an observer. Actually, we want to be below this block, so I want to place an observer facing up right beside that, and our piston's actually going to be placed on that block, like that. So now that we got the beginning of our structure up here, we can remove these blocks down below. We don't actually need these down here. I mean, if you want to have some sort of support structure for the farm, I suppose you could leave it in there and work off of that. But this is what we need to get started. So what we need is just 10 blocks on the side of this observer. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we want another observer with his face pointing up, right like that. So we need to get down below it. And then we need to, well, put a row of blocks underneath right here so we can place all our pistons. I suppose you don't really need the row of blocks there, but let's go ahead. It'll make it easier to place our pistons in there. So we have 12 pistons there. Now it's a good idea to get all our water in place before we start wiring up those pistons, but these parts of the structure are necessary to do that. So let's go ahead and we're going to build little cups for the water on the end of the structure. Do this on both sides. And next you're going to need your 2 stair blocks, and you're going to place them right down inside those cups. Just like that. Now you're going to want to get your 12 ice blocks, and you're going to run them from one side to the other, opposing the pistons from this strip here. So that's going to basically hold all our water inside this little tray here. Now we need a line of blocks across the back of these pistons, as all those pistons will be waterlogged, and then that's actually where we'll run our redstone line to power those pistons. But as I said, the pistons need waterlogged, the stairs need waterlogged, so we need our water sources. So once you got some water sources up here, you could kind of form an infinite source up here and kind of work off of that. But what you got to do is make sure you're actually waterlogging the pistons. So you will need buckets of water, waterlog every single one of these pistons, and waterlog the staircases on the end. So make sure you get the whole way across the farm. Make sure the water level's nice and even whenever you are done and there's no flowing water, else that won't freeze over. And, well, you see we got ice forming already, so we're ready to go. Next, let's go ahead and get these pistons wired up. Now, we need to wire them up from below. As you can see, our observers are sending the signal beneath them. So what we're going to do is we're going to pillar down off these observers. Of course, you're going to be using scaffolding or something along those lines to do all this in survival, as you won't be able to fly. But basically what you want to do is one block below these observers, you're going to want to run a line of blocks. This is where we're going to place our redstone line. Then once you get to this observer on the other end here, you want to build yourself a little 2x3 platform. So we're actually going to do that in the same line of blocks as that observer. We're going to start it there, so that's 2. Then we go 1, 2, 1, 2, and then from here we need to actually step back up to there. So let's go ahead, or step up one. We'll get rid of our temporary blocks. Step up another one. And then we'll be able to run a redstone line all the way across this farm. So let's go ahead and get that redstone line started. Start beneath your first observer and run it all the way across this line of blocks here. And then that one block to the back there, you'll want it there as well. And then here and here. Now we need to get our repeaters. So have one repeater feeding into that block right there. And we're going to have that repeater set to 2 ticks. Now we want a repeater feeding into the side of that repeater. So you want it to be, if I can place it from this side, boom, right there. And you want that one set to 4 ticks. And this is going to just form sort of a repeater lock. But we have a delay on that repeater lock to accommodate for the fact that the water doesn't fill in at the same speed every time necessarily. Now all we got to do is run a redstone line the whole way across our machine here. And there we go. Now, if ice were to form, well, we already had ice form on the other side, so if ice were to form here now, it pushes it all out, and then those water sources refill, allowing it to freeze over again. Now we just need to put in all the pistons that are going to push it down. So to do that, we want to place some temporary blocks off of this ice here, the stuff that got pushed out when we activated the farm for the first time. So let's place 1, 2 temporary blocks. Break away the first one you place so you can get down below and have your piston aiming straight down. Now we can break away that temporary block, and this piston is going to be the first piston in a large platform of pistons, and that platform needs to be 11 long, so that'll be the first one here. We want to get down below. They all need to be facing down. That'd be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then the platform also needs to be 12 pistons wide, so it's as long as your farm here. Of course, you're probably going to have to break away some of this ice here to get them all placed in there. But try not to break away this first row. That's got to remain in there, or else water's just going to pour everywhere. I suppose that wouldn't really hurt anything, but you know, you don't want water pouring everywhere. But go ahead and place in this gigantic piston platform. And now that we got our 11 by 12 piston platform, we need to get all of these pistons wired up, and that's actually not that difficult to do. But we're going to need the help of observers to detect, well, to determine when these pistons should fire. So we're going to need some temporary blocks once again. Let's go ahead and place one right there so we can have an observer right beneath it. Oops, that should be facing the other direction. Yeah, you want that little redstone bump facing out the back, so the face is right here. So as soon as ice gets pushed up against it, it's going to send out a signal. But we can't just stick them on the ends like we did down here. Otherwise, well, your farm could break. I mean, you could block them in with obsidian, so they're not harvesting as often, and you don't have to put in as many observers, but I mean, it's not that hard to craft up 14 observers. So let's just go ahead and place a line of observers going the whole way across. Again, I gotta face the right direction when I do it. So now we just need to run the redstone lines, and to do that, we're going to place in some solid blocks right across the back of all of these observers. So let's go ahead and just place a line of blocks in here. Now we need a little 2x3 platform coming off of this end. So let's go 1, 2. Okay, snow just automatically forming on there. That's great. Actually, that will help to spawn proof it, since we can't really light it up without our snow melting. But so that's 2x3. 2x3 platform right there. And let's go ahead and run a redstone line across the blocks we just placed all the way to there. And just like we did down beneath the machine, we're going to come to this. We're going to go one step in. We're going to build the same sort of repeater lock, but with a different timing. So we want one repeater there. Not there. One repeater there. Let's go ahead and run the redstone to both of those, and this one that's feeding into the side of the other repeater needs to be set to 3 ticks. So go ahead and click that thing twice. Now we just need 9 blocks coming off of this, so go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is just to run the redstone line to all the pistons. So every third piston, so go 1, 2, 3, place a block. 1, 2, 3, place a block. 1, 2, 3, place a block. Now we just need to be able to step up to those blocks with our redstone line. So let's go ahead and place one block next to each of those, one block below, and we just need to run repeaters into those blocks. So 1, 2, 3. Bring our redstone line all the way to the end of that structure, so all those repeaters get power. Of course, we're going to have redstone dust on top of each of those blocks, and then, yeah, you guessed it, redstone on every single one of these pistons. Oh, you don't need it on the ice. But I'm going to go ahead and cover this entire platform off camera. And there it is, dust on every single piston. And now, whenever this little collection of ice reaches all the way to the other end of the farm, well, it all gets pushed down. And well, the process continues, and it'll get pushed down a full 12 blocks. So you can stockpile quite a bit of ice without having to harvest it. Now again, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, something this size can start to get pretty laggy when you get a large collection of ice down beneath it, like this over here. So you could downsize it, and you know, you just remove a lot of these pistons. It doesn't have to be this long either. It doesn't have to be the full 12 blocks long. You don't have to come full 12 blocks out. You do probably want observers on the outside, unless you're going to block them in with obsidian. But the important thing to remember is the distance that the redstone line can travel. So you can only travel, or a signal can travel 15 blocks from a repeater. So since, you know, this is 12 blocks away from the repeater on this end, well, we can go 2 blocks to the side. So this one repeater right here can power everything all the way down to this corner to like this one over here, if it needed to, you know. But you know, there's a repeater in the middle to kind of back it up. Basically what I'm saying is, if you downsize it, you probably won't need this many repeaters. Just remember that if it goes 12 blocks long, you need a repeater every 2 rows. But once you do have yourself a nice little stockpile of ice forming below your farm, you just come down beneath it and harvest away. Of course, you're not going to be able to reach a lot of the ice up top, but I mean, if you let this thing run long enough, you're going to get quite a bit from just the bottom. And you could always build some sort of scaffolding structure or something around the thing so you could reach some of those higher blocks. But this is going to produce quite a bit of ice, even if you're only reaching 4 or 5 blocks up from the ground. And then probably my favorite part of an ice farm is that this is incredibly satisfying to do. So my friends, that completes today's Minecraft tutorial. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit that like button. And if you're interested in seeing more from me, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching and wish you all a wonderful day.